All right, guys. Today we're going to take a look at some more basics of our programming language. We're going to take a look at just the different types of information we can use in our code, and then also just some of the different things we can do with those types. All right, so we're going to go ahead and work with an Xcode playground today. So if you want to go ahead and get started just like we did with the variables here, let's go ahead and open up a new playground. So launch Xcode, and then we'll open up a playground and we'll get to it here. So let's go ahead and why don't we call this playground types. Keep it simple there. We'll go ahead and do that for me. Go ahead and just save that on your desktop. I'll go ahead and replace what I've got. And then let's go ahead and get into it here. So I'm going to go ahead and just maximize my view, get rid of this beginning line of code, and then we're ready to go. All right, so if you recall yesterday or at some point, one of our last lessons, we talked about variables and how they're used to store information. We also talked about constants and how those are used to store information. So when we're working within code here, okay, we've got this idea of information. Well, there's different types of information that you can use with our code. Okay, so today let's talk about those different types of information. Okay, so the first type we're going to talk about is an int. All right, so an int is essentially a whole number. All right, 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on that we can use in our code. All right, so to create an int, let's go ahead and do that. So we'll go ahead and create a let. So we'll just make this as a constant let int type. And then we'll go ahead and cast that as an int so Swift knows what's going on. So when I say that's how we would do that. Then we'll equal, and then this can be any whole number we would like it to be. All right, so as you read this from left to right, we've made a constant of type int called int type with the number 10. Okay, so this can be any whole number. All right, it could be 1,000. We can just whatever number you want to put in there, it's going to be fine as long as it's a whole number. As soon as we introduce a decimal into here, 5.5, you're going to notice we get an error. All right, because the error of the problem is it's saying that they can't convert the value of type double to int. All right, so we've got an issue here. It's giving you a little hint on what you can do here, all right, but we're not going to get into that right now. So we'll go ahead and just delete off the 0.5 because, again, it has to be a whole number to be an int. Okay, so that's what an int is, any number. All right, the next one we've got is a double. All right, so a double is essentially decimals. Okay, so if we create a constant let double type, all right, set that equal to, or set our cast that as a double type. Now we've got decimals. All right, so again, when we put our 2 in here, all right, again, that's going to be fine. It's still read as 2.0, but a double, again, has our decimal in there, so 2.3 would be a double. All right, so once again, working with that decimal now makes this different from an int. It's now a double, and you can put, we can work with different decimals after that, and you can put 2, and you can, again, just gives your code a little more flexibility, because we don't always want to work with whole numbers. You might need decimals there. All right, so we've got ints, we've got doubles for kind of our numbers that we're going to work with. All right, when we want to work with text or letters in our code, we call that a string. All right, and it's a little bit different. Okay, so with a string, all right, so let's create a constant called let string type. Cast that as a string. All right, the key thing here is that if I wanted to have some words in my code, let's say for example hello, I can't just type that. Let me redo that. I can't just type out hello, all right, because right now the code it's going to be very confused. All right, so I'm going to get the error. There you go, the red dot over here. I'm basically saying it says, wait a minute, use an unresolved identifier hello. So it doesn't know what's going on with this. What is this, a string? What's going on? So to make anything a string in our code, you simply just put quotations around it, and that gives it the ability to become a string. Okay, so it's again, you can any kind of let your name string, again, as long as you put quotes around it, it's going to read that as a string, and all is going to be good. Okay, so that's a string, and we'll use those throughout the semester. But the key thing is always make sure you have the quotes around the word you want it to be a string, and everything should work. Okay, then the last type I'm going to talk about is a bool value. So basically this is either one of two values. It's either true or false. All right, so if we want let bool type, all right, and then we cast that as a bool value. Okay, this can either be true or false, one or the other. Okay, if we put anything else here, the code's going to run here, and we're going to get some some problems with that. Okay, so again, it's going to read, well, wait a minute, it's 30. That's not a bool type. That's an int. What's going on here? All right. So again, if you're working with the bool, it's either going to be true, all right, which will be okay, or it's going to be false. All right, so basically you use that to check some logic in your code or conditions. And basically, if one thing happens, do this. All right, so bools are used to just check, some logic from time to time, and it become very helpful in our code as we move along here. Okay, so those are the different types of information: ints, doubles, strings, and bools. Okay, so one thing that when we have our different types is a concept of type conversion. So if you ever need to convert something, say from a double to an int or vice versa, pretty easy to do now. Okay, if you remember back to up top here when I put my error message in here, when I said I tried to make this to be when I tried to make my ints and I put a double on it, kind of gives you a little preview there of what's going to happen. Okay, so let's go ahead and give you a little preview of how we could do that. So let's get rid of our error. All right, so let's say I want to convert int type. Okay, so I'm going to create a constant called let's new int. All right, actually I'll go let new double. All right, let's say I want to convert int type to a double. So if I just type out double, okay, and then in parentheses here puts int type, because I'm calling the variable from up top, everything's going to be okay. Okay, so just to kind of review what I did here, I made a new constant and called it new double, and I want to convert int type, which is up here as an int, to a double. So to do that, I just simply type double first, and then convert that over to an int, and everything's going to work for me. Okay, so again, there's many different reasons why you might want to convert, different things here. We'll use that, for many times. But we could do let's new string, and let's say we want to convert the double type to a string. Okay, you could do that. All right, just by the same syntax that's showing up here. Again, why would you want to do that? I don't know. Maybe, but you'll notice the output when you look at double up here, it's 2.39, but down here it's got the quotes around it because we made it a string. Just remember though, anytime you do that, okay, so the next time I use int type, okay, you're going to see again it will do the converting of it here. So you got to make sure that again, or excuse me, when I call new double. Okay, that again, it's going to be, you got to make sure you're familiar with what you're converting to and where it last left off there. Okay, but that's type conversion. Okay, just kind of again, if you whatever you need to convert there, and we'll use that from time to time. Okay, a couple more things here. We got type inference. Okay, so basically this is pretty useful. All right, so far for everything we've done, we said let int type. We cast it as an int, or we cast this as a double, or as a string, or as a bool. If you notice in my type conversion, I did not put that after it, so what gives? Okay, so Swift is pretty smart where it can infer or kind of figure out the variable type or constant type you're creating without you telling it. All right, so if I were to create a variable called school name and set that equal to Blake's, okay, when I've done that, it's still going to work. Okay, so if I were to call school name down below, notice here it still has that as a string, even though I didn't explicitly say make this a string. So Swift is smart where it can infer. It's going to figure out the type that you want. All right, again, I could say var school year. All right, and then I could put that equal to 2017, and things are still going to be okay. Swift's going to be able to pick up on this and say, okay, we know school year is going to be an int, all right, because even though you didn't tell us, we know this what you put there is an int, and they can figure that out. Okay, so type inference is pretty nice. Again, it's kind of up to you how you'd want to establish your variables and constants. This way is fine. This way is fine. Okay, I definitely think at the start it's a good idea to just cast, so you know exactly what you're doing there. But again, it's kind of up to you and what kind of fits your personal preference for that. All right, and then last but not least here, let's talk about string interpolation. Okay, so this is a useful tool here, and I'll kind of show you why it's best just to show you by example rather than just explaining it in words here. So string interpolation is basically how you can work with a bunch of different variables and put those into different sentences here. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a variable car model. Okay, I'm going to set that equal to a string, and we'll just say Nissan. Okay, and then I'm going to say var car year. I'll set that equal to 2015. Okay, so let's say I want to have a sentence that says, I have a Nissan that is from the year 2015. Okay, so I could do this. I could come out and I could just type that out. I have a Nissan that is from 2015. Okay, so again, that's going to work. It's a string. It's got quotes around it. Everything's going to mesh up here. Let's see what my, oh, hey, I've got, here's why I got an error, because I got a similar name up top here, new string, so I just got to change that to, let's put a 2 after that, new string 2, we're good. So yeah, anytime you have one variable name or constant name, you can't have the same one on there. As you saw, Swift doesn't like that. So anyway, back to what we're looking at here. So I can type this sentence out, which is all well and good. You know, again, it's working, it compiles. I have a Nissan that's from 2015. All right, but where this could become a problem is, let's say I'm going to use Nissan in 2015 at other points in my app. Let's say I'm going to have like 10, 12, I mean, lots of line of code that are going to have that. So again, I could go in and type that all over and over and over, or I could use variables and string interpolation to make that easier. Because let's say something changes. Let's say I get a new car. Let's say I get it has a new year. You know, do I have to go back and change every single line of code? You know, again, that could get a little cumbersome and just a little unnecessary work here. So let's show you how string interpolation works. So let's start first with the car. Okay, so string interpolation works by I use a backslash, and then I put 2 parentheses. Then inside that, I'm going to put the variable name that I want to go here. So I'm going to first say car model. All right, so as you can see, it says I have a, it still says I have a Nissan, but when my line of code, it says car model. Okay, the reason why that's nice is because, again, if I'd say I get a new car, I'd say I get a nice shiny new Buick here. I change Buick up here, you'll notice that it's automatically changed in my output line of code. Same thing's going to happen for my year. Okay, so I can go car year. All right, again, it's going to still say 2015, but let's say the Buick's from 2016. I can change that, and then here we go. I've now got my updated line of code. So again, it just becomes a lot more useful the more you use, variables, because once you make a variable in your code, you're using it. That's the whole point, but you're storing information that you're going to use in your code. So string interpolation allows you to take, variables and add them into sentences. Also allows you to work with an int and a string in the same line, because if without string interpolation it would never work, because again you can't combine the two. Okay, so it's something that it's very useful, and I think you'll be using quite a bit here throughout the next few weeks. So something that I wanted to cover with you here today. So that's it. All right, so after this, why don't you take a look at the variable review problem and see if you can work through those. Also a little extra credit on that, and then the next day here, so we'll start reviewing them as a class and seeing what you got, how many you got right. So we'll talk more in class. Remember, though, any questions, having any problems, make sure you're asking for help, and we'll be sure to help you out as best we can. Thanks, guys.